What is up, guys? Welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be discussing how to make a very basic nav bar with just HTML and CSS. So let's get straight into it now. I am a new channel and I'm going to be talking about web dev basics. So this is for absolute beginners. If you guys are new, be sure to drop a like and hit that subscribe button. I mean, everyone's going to be new because this is my first video. But yeah, so let's get into it. So we're going to make a folder and we're going to call this, let's just call this navbar practice. Navbar hyphen practice. Oops, I spelled that wrong. Good start. Okay, navbar hyphen practice. Now we're going to open a new tab of Visual Studio Code. We're going to open the folder that we just created. So desktop, where is it? Navbar practice. And select that folder. Now this is, like I said, it's for absolute beginners, so if you are new to web dev, this is the video for you. Otherwise, this is probably a bit too beginner for you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to right click over here, we're going to hit new file, and we're going to create a file called index.html. So we have this. Now if you guys go over to extensions and you actually download something called Emmet, just type it in like that, E-M-M-E-T, and just make sure you hit install on that, and that basically just gives you guys shortcuts for code. Now once you have that, you just press exclamation mark and it will come up Emmet abbreviation. You just want to press enter on that. So now we have a little, what they call boilerplate for code, and this is just setting everything up, and everything that goes in your code will go in between these body tags right here. So for the title, we'll call it navbar, just like that. Now what we can do is we can actually create a new file called styles.css. Now to test this out, let's do, actually we have to download another extension called live server. Make sure you guys have that already, live server, and this just makes you be able to open with live server just like this, and this will actually open up here. So you guys can see right here I have this navbar, and I can just put in hello world, and we have hello world printing there, so that's awesome. So this is all connected, and now you basically, guys, we want to connect the CSS, which what CSS is it's literally just a styling language. So it's very easy to pick up CSS. Now if you guys are new, basically with CSS you got to have a link, and the href is going to be styles.css, and you just leave the rel style sheet. And the way you can test if the CSS is working is, let's go and target our global variables and put background color of black. Cool, and there we go, our CSS is connected. So let's just not make that black. In fact, just for the sake of this video, just for you guys' eyes, I make the black background color 2224. So just this nice little thing, and we'll make the color by default white. So we have a white default color, and we'll change the font family too. So font family, and we'll go with Arial. Looks a little bit better. So this is just defaults. So when you have the asterisk up here, it's just default settings. So let's actually get into some of the HTML now. So the first thing we want to have is a nav. So we have two nav tags here, one opening, one closing. Now everything that goes in between the nav is what's going to display on the screen. So let's quickly have a title, which we'll just put as a H1, and we'll just put in your name. So whatever your name is, enter that here. Okay, now once we have that, we will go down to our next line, and we will put in a UL with a class. So to edit the class, and basically what editing the class is, it just makes it so you can style it in CSS. You put a dot after, and then whatever class name you want. So I'm going to do is nav _, links, and press enter. So now we actually have a, what is called an unordered list, and this basically just holds all our nav links. So now we have a li dot nav _ link. So we have nav links plural and nav link singular. So let's just put something in here. So let's go let's pretend you can literally put in whatever you want, but we will pretend we're making a portfolio, for example. So we have a contact page like this, and let's just actually duplicate some of these. We'll do 3, and we'll do one more that has these, we'll call it navlink button. So I'm doing double underscore and then double hyphen for the third word. So we'll put contact in the button, and we will have, let's have resume, about me, and let's say projects. So let's actually save that, and now you guys can see we're actually getting all of those rendered on the page, and it looks a bit crappy right now. That's okay. We're going to make it look really nice. So first things first, let's style the nav. Now this is a little bit confusing, but when you're styling a HTML element without a class, you don't need to put a dot in front of it. So for the nav, we're just going to put nav, open it up like this with the curly brackets, and we're going to press display flex. And basically what display flex does, if you guys are new to Flexbox, is all it does is it just puts things alongside each other, and we can make some modifications after that. So we'll go, let's make it a max width of 1200 pixels, width 100%. And basically guys, what this is doing is it's making the max width. So one thing that a lot of people don't do, and it kind of makes me a bit sad because it's such a good trick, is when you're learning CSS, just put a border on things. So let's do a border of 2 pixels solid red, and it makes you understand things a lot better. So let's take out this max width, and we'll open it up fully, as you guys can see right there. And now we'll put the max width back on, and it actually brings it a bit smaller. So we don't, more often than not, we don't want the nav spanning the whole page. We just want it to span a little bit of it. So let's have a look at if we center it with margin 0 auto, and this looks really nice. So we have our centered nav like that. So it's perfectly centered in the screen, no matter what size. And now we can actually start styling again. So we know we are centered overall. We can actually start, let's start styling. So on display effects, we will put justify content, and we'll do space between. So this just spreads everything out nicely. And then we'll go align items center, and that brings everything centered on a horizontal, vertical axis. So we can actually justify content this center, and that brings everything in the middle on a horizontal axis. So basically, think of justify content as the horizontal axis and align items on the vertical axis. So let's put that back to space between. Okay, now this is looking nice. Everything's centered perfectly. But now what we want to do is we want to actually fix all these up. Now by default, li link tags have a text decoration. I believe it's a text decoration of, no, it's not a text decoration, it's a list style type. I knew it was one of those of dotted or whatever. So basically you want to have that as none just by default, because it just looks really crappy. Now we're going to go and target our nav links. So nav links, we have to put the dot in front of it because it is a class. As you guys can see here, class, and we have nav link buttons. So, and everything in here is wrapped in the nav links UL. So we're going to target the UL first and sort of work our way down. So this is the parent element, and these are the children elements because it's inside the parent. Okay. So let's display flex that, bring alongside each other. And that's all we need to do for now because it's already centered. And now we're going to actually target each nav link. So let's actually put nav link as well in here. So we have nav link and nav link button as this last class, just for styling for now. So we're going to go with a margin. So this is just space, and we're going to go 0 because that is the margin on the top and bottom. And then the second one is going to be the margin on the left and right. So we're going to go 8 pixels, so 8px. As you guys can see right there, we've got, it looks decent. We haven't really started anything yet, but that looks fine for now. So we have a margin of 0 and 8 pixels, so got a bit of space between. We'll make it actually 12 pixels. so just a bit more space. And now we can actually style the navlink button. So let's do that. So let's give it a padding of, let's try 10 pixels and 20 pixels. Okay, so that kind of screws everything up. So let's just, so align on center. Yep, so align on center makes that centered. Now, as you guys can see, when you're working with CSS, it's a lot of trial and error. You don't have to be flawless. No one's some flawless CSS god, okay? So don't worry too much about that. So let's just see what we're doing by giving this a background color of, let's give it a color of red for now. All right, so we have a nice little contact button there, and that actually doesn't look too bad as is. We are going to make some adjustments. So border radius, what that does is it actually curves the edges. So let's give it a border radius of 8 pixels. That looks pretty nice. And we'll give it a font weight, and this is just changing whether it's bold or not. So we'll give it a font weight of bold. So that's looking really cool. Now it looks a bit weird. Obviously the cursor doesn't actually have the little pointer when we hover over it, but we're going to fix that right now. So now we're talking about hover states. So let's go navlink button. And this is some cool little CSS animation I'll show you guys. So let's just put cursor pointer. So cursor pointer just makes, when you hover over it, it's got that makes that that symbol that makes it look like it's clickable. And then we're going to go with on hover. So we put in semicolon hover. We're actually going to change the background color, and let's make that white, and let's make the color red. So color is talking about what's inside it, and background color is obviously the background color. So for example, we have this, and that's looking kind of cool, but we're going to make it transition and a bit nicer. So transition on the original element, so not the hover state, but on the original, all 200 ms, so that's 200 milliseconds, and then ease. And now let's have a look at it. So that's going a bit slow, as you guys can see, and if you can't quite see that, let's go 800 milliseconds, and that's ridiculously slow. It doesn't look good. As you guys can see, that's looking really nice. We'll go 300 milliseconds ease. So that's got a really nice sort of effect to it, as you guys can see right there. So we've got our projects, we've got our about me, we've got our resume, and we actually don't need the border anymore because we kind of know what we're working with. So this is looking really cool. Now, if we want, you guys can style whatever you want. So the H1, let's make this a little bit bigger. So it's probably like 30 pixels. Yep. And we'll go target the list elements, or the nav link, which is the individual element. And we'll make this font size maybe 18 pixels. Yep, that looks good. So if you actually open this up fully, it's looking quite cool. Now, if you guys want, you can actually make hover states on the nav links themselves. So let's target that, and I'm going to show you guys a different animation. So nav link semicolon hover. Now let's go transform scale, and we'll do 1.1. So this is just timesing it by a tenth, and we will make the transition, keep it consistent, so 300 ms ease. And as you guys can see, it's just going that little bit bigger, and we're also going to give it a cursor pointer because we want people that view our websites to think that this is clickable. And you guys can see right there. And let's actually make it font weight bold. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, let's give it this weird little glitchy animation. Let's not do that. But like as you guys can see, it is all about just improvising on the fly, you know what I mean? And we're giving that button's actually getting bigger, which isn't too bad. That actually looks really nice. So that's pretty much your navbar setup. We'll also give the H1 a cursor pointer because it's probably going to be for your site, it's probably going to be redirect back to the home page or the top of the page or whatever. So H1 on hover. We're also going to make this transform scale by, we'll do 1.2, and we'll give it a transition of all 300 ms ease. Let's have a look. So that's looking cool, and obviously it overflows a little bit, but there you go. As you guys can see, when you open it fully, and we can actually fix that by just giving it a little bit of padding. So let's give the H1 a bit of padding left, You give it 8 pixels padding left. Let's see how that looks, and that looks much better. Give it 12 just for a little bit more space. So you guys can see you're getting the full animation. That looks good on hover. Projects, about me, resume, contact, and this is looking really good, guys. So that's the nav bar complete. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did like it or you found it any bit educational or helpful, please drop a like and hit that subscribe button. I want to post more videos and really start getting the ball rolling on this channel with my web dev tutorials. And obviously the further we go, the more advanced we're going to get with it, but just starting off really beginner, getting your feet wet a little bit with some CSS and HTML. We can move into some JavaScript, React, and yeah. So thank you guys for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video.